Hello, everyone. Welcome to Leadership Talks. Leadership Talks is a podcast for emerging leaders who are on a path of transformation and are looking for ideas for leaders who have gone through this journey. Every week on Leadership Talks, we invite leaders and emerging leaders to share their self-leadership journey. I'm your host, Kirandeep Sandhu, and along with me, Ashish Datta will be co-hosting today's episode. Over to you, Ashish.
Thank you, Kiran. In today's show, we have the privilege of having as our guest Mr. Mani Krishnamurti, founder, president, CEO of Congruent Software USA and Congruent Infotech India. Mani Krishnamurti is an entrepreneur and investor. He founded Congruent in 1994 as an IT services company. Today, Congruent is a 200 plus person strong company dealing with multiple technologies based in Seattle, Washington and Chennai, India. Mani is also a passionate marathon runner. He has participated in most of the premier marathons across the globe. Welcome to our show, Mani. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So, Mani, we know you are a self-made man and you've had an illustrious journey. Please tell us a little more about yourself and your entrepreneurial journey in the IT industry.
It depends on how much time we have for that, but I'll try to be brief. I grew up in India and I got into IT when IT was very young, accidentally, of course. And I didn't even know what I was getting into, but I was probably one of the first few batches of software guys in the Indian market at that time. Joined the company which was doing IBM System 38, which was again a new technology. So from there, I knew that I was good. I was good because I always believed in black and white and nothing gray. And IT is all about black and white. So I fit the industry really well, and I saw that I had potential. And then from being an employee and a consultant in London and Australia, then I moved to the US. And entrepreneurship was far from my mind because at that time I was making way more money than I thought I could ever make, more than doctors and architects, which are popular in India. So I was almost happy with it, but not. I was also an opportunist as well. So you won't believe it. Congruent came about because I was in Starbucks. I was a consultant. I was in the men's restroom. I don't even know if I should admit this story. And on two sides, on either side of me, I knew one guy. He was the CIO at that time, called IT director, when Starbucks was still a small company. And on the other side was a tall guy in a well-tailored Italian suit. Didn't know who he was. They're talking about needing people across me to each other. And then I heard it and I quipped. Lucky I didn't know who this person was, because if I'd known, I would have kept my mouth shut. And I just said, hey, I can find people. I got people. I can bring them in. And they said, oh, when can you bring them in? And I said, yeah, I can have them in a week or two. I had no idea what I'm talking about. And then I come out, tell others about this guy next to me. And they said, it's Howard Schultz. He's the founder, CEO of Starbucks. And he's telling me, oh, yeah, bring them in quick. We need them. And then I go home, take a day off. I'm making contacts. And I found two guys to work with me as my team in Starbucks. And that's how Congruent came about. Until then, I would put people and people together. Didn't look at it as a business, more as a favor. And that's when I thought, okay, I'm just going to build this as a business, not favors anymore. And that was the start of Congruent and my entrepreneurship. It was just purely accidental.
Love it.
Yeah. Thank you, Mani. That's a very interesting story you have. I'm very sure in your entrepreneurial journey, you had lots of ups and downs as we went along. So please share with us, what do you think were your key challenges, at least 2 or 3, which you faced in your entrepreneurial journey in IT and also during this pandemic period?
Okay. So challenges is when you're starting, well, let's put it this way. Entrepreneurs or business builders, I've heard, there are two kinds. I've heard that if you're making a meal, there's a kind who would open the fridge, see what's in there, and make a dinner. There's another kind who always makes a plan, recipe, go out shopping, and make a meal. I'm the guy who opens a fridge and see what I can do. So that's easy to start with. So the opportunity was there. So one side of the business is there. The opportunity has been given to me on a plate. I needed to fill the other 50%, which is finding the resumes. And it was put together, it was done. But that is easy. The first one, it's like because you're only fulfilling half of it, it's easy. But as you grow, you got to then keep making sales and making recruitment and finishing projects to make the whole business grow. So, what gets you to be a 10% company is a totally different character and challenge. It's all about being young, being smart. I recruited for young people who are hungry, who will put in the hours. They don't care. They don't know. They don't need to know anything. I could teach them as long as they were smart, and that's what I was going for. I didn't want anyone to question me. They're smart. They will learn. They needed to make the money. Bring them in. So that got me quickly with the 10, 15. But then after that, as you grow, you're into 25. You don't have accounting systems in place. You don't have policies in place. We didn't even have policy for how many vacation days you have. Like, you want to take time off, you do it. You want to work, keep working till 9 o'clock. That's how we function. So then the next stage was hiring for experience. Along with this comes the challenge of, as you hire experienced people, they talk about overtime and comp time, and we have never heard of anything like that in our company. We were all 25 years and young. We didn't even have any calm time. That was our life, coming to work, working, and drinking after work. So that's a whole different challenge. All of a sudden, I'm being pulled out of meetings by the HR manager that I've hired, and she'll pull me out and say, "You can't say that. You can't talk like that." I'm like, what do you mean? This is my company. Why can't I talk like this? Well, you hired me to do a job. If you want me to do my job, just listen to what I say, and you got to do it. So those are the kind of challenges. The culture changes. We were in a small office, and the 10 people team wanted to move into a bigger office. Hey, we are in a small one. I don't like coming here. Move into a big building. So we moved to a big building. We grew, and all of a sudden there's 40 people in the office, 40 people outside, consultants. And then I see pictures on the windows, pictures of the old office, and the first 10 people with notes there saying, "Wasn't that nice?" So they wanted to go back to the old office, right? They didn't
Right.
like the growth. So it's all kinds of challenges you got to draw a fine balance between. And the other one is when we are small, you're driving to cost, you're aware of that. When you hire a VP of sales and another sales manager in California, they go to a sales meeting in Nike in Portland. You need those experienced people to make a presentation. But we would talk about, hey, can we meet at the airport, go in one car? I would drive myself from Seattle to Portland, which is 3 hours. But then these people are taking flights. Seattle to Portland, California to Portland, hiring two, three cars. So you gotta just trade off, right? What brought you to the first stage, first few years, is not what's going to get you to the next stage. So the challenges keep changing. And now we are at 200 people, 250, 230. That's a totally different challenge. Now everything is in place. I don't even get to know what the problems are. We got people who handles all the problems, who are experienced, who get compensated for that.
I
So
loved
it's a
it. That
natural, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I love the conversation, Manny, because you've talked about how initially it was just you saying, let me bring these people in. And then from there, it was the 10 people to the 25, and then from there to the 200 people. And it's obviously the team which is now dictating, as you just shared about, whether it was the HR manager to someone else telling you what to do, and it was your company. So in that particular case, my question is that how have you driven Congruent to having these robust teams which are actually working in synchronization towards that bigger vision that you had cast for your company?
I mean, the short answer is I think I was lucky to have the right people. And then I don't know if it was my smartness or laziness. I let them run
Mhm.
with it. If they didn't bother me, I really liked it. And it was hard for me not to step in, but I just
Mhm.
learned to step back and then let them do their job. That's what they are paid for. So it's your baby. It's difficult to give up, but then you go, as the baby grows up, you need a
Yeah.
different teacher, not me. They're out of my hands.
So
So I
you
think
had
that's
to cut the
what
cord.
worked. Yeah.
You had to cut the cord each time as the company grew in order to give them ownership, give them the opportunity to take those challenges themselves. So because it was so now that brings me to this question that when you were able to cut that cord, you said the culture of the company changed. There were probably some fundamental things that you wanted to keep within the culture of your company, but at the same time you were saying you were willing to let go. So how have you been able to create the right culture in your organization?
Um, it's also interesting in our company because it's US and India. So what's culture in the US is different from culture in India. For
Absolutely.
example, when I came to India every 3 months at the time,
Hmm.
I will be in the office at 7:30 a.m. and the first employee will come at 10:30.
I know.
And I always wondered, like, why are they coming in the hot sun, fighting the traffic? I would try to advise them, you guys should come at 8 o'clock, leave at 4, avoid the
Hmm.
traffic. And then slowly it occurred to me that office was their everything.
Yeah.
It was a air-conditioned comfort with friends, with endless cups of tea and snacks or whatever they wanted, table tennis, entertainment, everything. And then
Hmm.
I realized for them, going home was not a priority, especially if
Hmm.
you're in a joint family or living with parents or whatever it is. So
Hmm.
I had to change my mind and go, what works in the US is not going to work here. I realized how stupid I was trying to advise them to come at 8, leave at 4. What do they do at 5 o'clock if they go home? Nothing.
Right.
So they come at 10:30 and work till 9:30 p.m., but the effective hours of work maybe 8, 9 hours. So I got
Hmm.
used to it. So that's a culture that we encourage. We built a gym, have a table tennis, have carom boards, whatever it is, just to
Hmm.
have some form of entertainment. Whereas in the US, it's always on the clock. They come at 7:38. They work. They don't talk, waste time. They work 8 hours. They got to leave at 4 before the freeways fill up with the cars, go back to
Hmm.
their kids, husbands, or their gym workout, whatever it is. So that's one of the basic difference. The other one here is that the age group is also in India, the average age group is much younger than
Right.
in the US. US, the average age group may be 35 to 40, and
Hmm.
here the average is 25 to 30. So it's just all different things that we have to tackle with. And now another biggest thing was I consciously made the US company, the Indian company, more along the lines of the US company.
Okay.
That that to me was a surprise. I thought probably that's how all the companies in India were doing at the time. But whenever people come and tell me, no, it doesn't happen, this is very unique and we love it. One, I
Hmm.
was surprised. Two, I was very happy that it was such an easy win, doing nothing, just giving them freedom. We trust them to do the work.
So that was the culture that you try to incorporate on based on the US model, which is give them the trust to do what they had to do.
Absolutely. I mean, I've got funny stories. It's very small, it's insignificant for me, but I'll give you an example. Wonderful team HR and all that. We make t-shirts for Congruent.
Hmm.
There was black t-shirts and there were red t-shirts, right?
Hmm.
I love the black, I love the red. I was given a black. And then I said, can I have the red as well?
Hmm.
And the hesitation was, no, you don't want the red, Manny. I'm like, what? Why shouldn't I want the red? I like the red. The
Hmm.
red, the red was for the office boys.
Oh.
Black was for the employees. I mean,
Oh.
just a small thing. But I'm like,
Hmm.
no, just change it. Anyone can have whatever color and give me a red, right? It's
Hmm.
very small. And then anytime I walk by, the office boys will be having lunch or whatever. They will sit on the floor and eat in the beginning. I don't know if Ashish remembers it. They'll sit on the floor. I'm like, no, you guys sit on the table and eat like anybody else, right?
Absolutely.
And then they are eating, and if I walk by, it will make me feel bad that I walk by because they'll have to stand up when I walk by.
Mm,
It took me about 5, 10 years to make them not stand up
mm,
while they're eating or any time. So
mm.
it's just very minor things that I take for granted from the US. And I think it's such a simple thing and a small change, but it's a huge thing for the people in that position.
Absolutely. I mean, those are two very, I mean, very small examples of the subtle differences in culture, but how you have addressed it and how you have brought the employees across the company, whether they were US based or in India, to understand that I'm giving you the respect. And it is irrespective of your rank in the position. We're giving you that ability. So, I mean, that's an excellent sharing. And I'm sure all our viewers viewers will be able to take that point away, that it's all about creating that culture of respect irrespective of their position and what we can bring. Ashish, would you like to take this forward?
Yeah. Money, you're a self made man. You've been through this self leadership journey. What do you think made yourself the leader that you are today?
Wow. Um, so I was in sports as well. School, I was
Hmm.
in track team, and then I would play table tennis for the state. My philosophy is that right or wrong, maybe this is not a message I should give. Studies are fine as long as you have the basics. I think sports teaches a lot more that's going to help you in life than studies. You need to have studies to have the backing, yes. I told my kids once, the 3 kids, I have 3 kids, and I told them, and they were like 8, 6, and 4 years old, driving in the car, my wife next to me. I'm like, guys, I don't care if you study or not, as long as you don't fail, just get through college. But play competitive sports, you can just get away with anything. My wife just hit me in the head and said, is this the thing you tell your kids? But I firmly believe that. So, what I am today, I honestly believe 50 to 70% of it or more is what I learned from. There was a guy called Chandrasekhar. I don't know how many of the viewers would know. He was a 3 times national champion, and I was fortunate to be his practice partner. We literally grew up together every day of the life. So he had a huge influence in me. He taught me what confidence is. I could only spell confidence at that time. He showed me what confidence is. And I still remember his words saying, people may think this is arrogance, but they don't know confidence. Those who don't know confidence think you're arrogant. But if you're confident, then you know it's not arrogance. So that's a subtle difference between the two. And I knew he was being referred to as an arrogant player, and he was rich as well on top, so didn't do him any help to be rich and confident. But then when I got to know him, I knew he's not arrogant. He's got stuff. So you got to respect that. If he says I'm good at it, he's good at it. Then you have to either prove he's wrong to say he's arrogant, or he's right and just eat your words and be quiet. So that's what I learned. I learned a lot from him, spending every day of my life with him. And that was a first step for me to be confident. I just copy people. If I find something that's good, I copy. If I find something that's bad, I copy and I don't do it. So my personality, my self-made that Ashish said is it's all a mix of what I copy from others. Makes it very simple. And that's
I
what I
love it.
copied from him. He's a risk taker, and especially in sports, you have to be confident when you go into a match. You're losing a match, you got to take risk to try and win yourself out of that trouble. Uh, and then the biggest thing is knowing your strengths and weakness. In sports, if you know your backhand is weak, you compensate with your forehand. So same thing with the business. I have to tell you, I'm not a good people manager. I've learned, I've become better, but I never enjoy the people management. My first boss told me in 1983, I solved the biggest operational research logic problem that CAs and MBAs couldn't solve. I solved it. And I went to his office to make a claim for a big bonus. He said, what you did is nothing, man. It's very easy for you. I know you can do it. That's why I gave it to you. But he gave me all these things and he said the toughest job anyone can do in the world is to manage people. At
Mhm.
that time, I walked away thinking, his name is S.A. Murli Prasad. He's a well-known CFO in Chennai. I
Mhm.
walked away, stupid man. He doesn't know what he's talking about. He's not giving me money, and that's his excuse.
Mhm.
After that, I learned and I live his words every day. So I'm
Mhm.
not good at it. But then the strength is that I know I'm not good at it.
Mhm.
So I have other people doing it. Same
Mhm.
thing with finance. I like spending, I like chasing revenues. But the CFO of our company, Ashish, he made the company profitable. He was good on how he spent. We didn't like, none of us liked Ashish because he was very tight with the money. But then the results showed, and we are like, oh, Ashish, you and I are the greatest combination. I want to spend, you want to save. We strike a balance, right?
Mhm.
Just knowing the strengths and weakness. Yeah. I think that was a
Yeah,
long answer. I don't know if I answered the question.
that is very interesting, Shamani, about learning from others, understanding your own strengths and weaknesses, and collaborating and complementing with others. I think that's a very key takeaway. You talked about sports, being in sports. I know you are now a passionate marathon runner. You have ran almost all the premier marathons around the world. The question I want to ask you is that why it is important for a person to be into sports like marathon, especially for a leader. What can we learn from that?
It need not be marathon, but I'll get back to marathon and how I relate to it and the business. It need not be marathon. It is any discipline where you have a goal.
Mhm.
It can be just weight loss or it can be diet, but knowing this is what you want to achieve. You want to lose 10 pounds, and how are you going to do it? You're going to run a
Mhm.
marathon, how are you going to do it?
Mhm.
And the biggest thing I also say is that, Forrest Gump says, life is a box of chocolates. You don't know what's next, right? My thing is life is a game of chess. Anything you
Mhm.
do, it's a chess. That's what I tell my kids. I insisted all my kids learn chess. They all are chess players. If you look at a chess, you make a move, then you got to plan for what can the opponent make 3 or 4 moves in answer to that. Then you got to plan ahead for those 4 moves. What are the 4 different moves you can make? So you're
Mhm.
already planning 16 scenarios when you make one move. And to me, that's very important. In sales, in running a business, even if you pick a date or you're going to propose to a girl or a guy, whatever, you got to plan ahead. What if they say yes? What if they say no? What if they say yes and that happens to be the wrong choice you made? All kinds of things. So going back to marathon, yeah, I think it relates a lot to me in business because business is not a short sprint. At the same time, you don't make one. So to run a marathon, you make a training plan. You train for 16 weeks. Anybody can run a marathon. It's a question of do you run it in 3 hours or 5 hours or 7 hours. I ran it in five first, then four. Now I run in 3.5. So you train for that. That's great. So you have a training plan, you do it, and it's the same thing for a business. You can have a plan, you do it. But then things can change. I mean, my same 3.5, the same training, one marathon can go well. The other one, I can get a cramp, I can get fall down. It's a rainy, windy day, which I run well. Or if it's a sunny day, like in Mumbai, I always fail in Mumbai. Same person, same training. I can't run Mumbai well. Everybody overtakes me, and everybody says, "This is great weather today." And I'm like, "Are you running in the same city, same street as I'm running?" So it's all those different experiences. You got to be able to make corrections as you go along. What I plan goes for 2 hours. Then the third hour, it doesn't go according to plan. I have to change my plan. So the business is the same. You can have a big plan, but every year or two, you need to make corrections and changes. And it's never a sprint. With a marathon, there's always what they say is the first half should be slightly slower than the next half. You have to go faster. I never believed it. I always try to like to do and prove to myself. I always thought that's a bad theory. I can run fast on the first half. It's called banking the minutes. And then the next half, whatever I struggle, it doesn't matter. I got some minutes in the bank and I can draw on that. I ran 40 marathons like that. It never worked. The proven theory that you run the first half slower and the second half faster, which I adopt now, works like a charm. So you don't go challenging proven business habits and business doings. So that's the other thing you learn as well. Yeah.
I think that's a very interesting point, Mani, about having some established practices and adopting the same. That's very interesting. So, Mani, you are an IT industry veteran. So, what do you think are the challenges as well as the opportunities that face the IT industry today?
Okay. Yeah, by veteran, you make me feel old. But I mean, to me, the challenge really is it's just technology is changing. Every 6 months, there's a new technology. Now, I think that's the biggest difficulty challenge, just to keep on top of it. But then it's a given. It's going to happen. That's one of the reasons I stopped being a. That's also the reason I stopped being a techie and became a business guy. At least the business fundamentals don't change like technology does. So that's the biggest challenge. And then, of course, with the pandemic that you asked about, um, that has made the offshoring part of IT easier because it doesn't matter. You're working from home, whether your home is in Mexico or in India, it doesn't matter as long as you're awake at the same time. So that part of it is advantageous to the offshore part of the IT industry, right? And then now you came from two-tier to three-tier to mobile and all that. Now I believe it's going to be the metaverse, which is going to be the next phase, where you're doing a 2D Zoom or video conference like this now. Imagine if it is going to be a 3D, right? If
Yeah.
you can wear glasses and you can see the 3D shape of your room or Kiran's room where they are. So now I just got a plant behind me on a wall. I know you're not going to look at anything more than that. If you look at the rest of the room, you can't see how messy it is. You don't want to see it, right? But soon that's going to change. So that's again keeping in touch with it. So it's a constant. Change is the only constant. And that's the biggest challenge and that's the biggest opportunity.
Yeah, very true. I think change is the biggest constant. Very true. Well said that. So, Mani, we are coming almost to the end of the show. I think we've had a lot of learnings and takeaways today. One last question that I have for you today is that what is that key message you'd like to give to all the emerging leaders of today?
If I can do it, anyone can do it. Yeah, I mean that's also the other interesting thing. I'm no MBA. I want to be a doctor. Then I did a BCom. I can't even mention the name because it's not a popular college. It's actually notorious, Pachepas College in Chennai. So I've got all the backing on resume to be a failure, right? But all that was to do with sports. That's where the sports comes in. That's what I escaped with, made me survive and succeed. So just have the discipline and also grabbing the opportunity. In my case, it wasn't a planned entrepreneurship, but I'm always an opportunist. The term opportunist is also being looked at wrongly, at least in the Indian context. There's nothing wrong being an opportunist. People always say, oh, he's an opportunist, meaning it's a bad trait. No, it's not. He's smart. Just be smart, look out for the opportunity. If you have a rich dad, you can have a plan. Remember, you can have a recipe, plan your dinner, and go shop and do your dinner if you got a rich dad. If you don't have a rich dad, you see what you got in your pocket, in your fridge, make a meal based on that. So anyone can be an entrepreneur. Just learn from that. You need to have the drive. There's also something about a gut instinct. I mean, I've read what makes a difference in leaders. It's nothing. I mean, when I make decisions, company people feel like, oh, he knows, and I make decisions. No, I just pretend to know. I don't show it in my face. The luck is that 98% of the time my decisions come right. That's a gut instinct. So that you need to train for. That's where probably the chess comes into play and all of that. So it's all tied in. See who you can learn from, see who you don't need to learn from. Just combine all this. I think anybody can make a good leader and a great entrepreneur.
Thank you so much, Mani, for this amazing session. I'm sure our viewers had a lot, but my three takeaways are: number one, confidence is not arrogance. That was my key takeaway. So, guys, if you feel confident and people think you are arrogant, it's their problem, not yours. Number two, be open to opportunities. And that gut feeling that Mani talked about, it actually comes from experience. And that is only possible if you're going to be open to look at these opportunities which are around you. And number three is life is not a sprint. So, yes, have a plan and work on that plan, because what people have done, learn from their mistakes, and what people have done, learn from their experiences. And that's why we bring in leaders to share their self-leadership journey with all of you, so that you can learn from their learnings, experiences, and failings. With that, this is your host, Kiran and Ashish, signing off till we meet next week with another leader sharing their leadership journey. Follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and follow us on Leadership Card Facebook page. Thank you, Mani. Thank you, Ashish.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Mani. Thank you, Mani, for your time. Pleasure having you here today.